I want to discuss what it's like. Well, not really what it's like, but is daily driving a turbo 600 horsepower plus K-Series car practical?
You can do whatever the fuck you want to do.
Starting off is the maintenance. These type of cars, I change the oil on this car every 1,000 to 1,500 miles, depending on how I've driven the car, because I run it on E85. Now, if you're a guy who's running it on 93 octane, you can get away likely without, if you're not turning too much RPM, 2,000 to 2,500, maybe even 3,500 mile oil changes. You just need to be checking that oil, making sure it's not broken down and smelling like gasoline. The oil has lost its protective properties, no longer doing its job. Every time I hop in this vehicle, before I do so, I check the oil. And I go ahead and pull the dipstick, wipe it off, stab it back in and check it. For the amount of power this car makes, it does not consume oil. You want to also choose good oils, synthetic, of course. This type of engine, even if it was stock, you should be running synthetic only, okay? You have likely with this type of power level an oil catch can. Periodically, you may want to check that. Pushing oil, that's going to let you know the health of your engine as well. Also, the oil consumption is going to let you know the health of your engine. Engine compression, the rule on compression is it's going to vary per the tester, but what you're looking for with the compression test is consistency. You don't want to have any cylinders that are off balance by a specific amount of percentage, maybe 10%, you don't want that. And another thing I do related to the spark plug holes is change the spark plug. So with increased cylinder pressure and boost, standard heat range plug will not work. Colder is the way. Those plugs are not designed to go 50 to 100,000 miles, especially doing 600-700 horsepower. Periodically, you want to remove those plugs, check the gap, the coloration of it. You see any specific spark plug that stands out as far as the burn quality on that tip and around the part that's actually in the cylinder? That's an indication that you got something going on there. You may have a leaky injector. You may have bad leak down in the cylinder. You don't want to run the spark plug so many miles that on a pull where you're going, let's say 9,500 RPM, which these cars are capable of. You break off the tip of the spark plug and destroy the engine. They run you 40, 50 bucks for a set of 4. They're gonna last you some months. I don't need to always tack it out. This type of car, really, after you've owned it for so long, man, you felt what it can do. You can gap most things on the street. You can fly and haul ass and burn up a bunch of fuel and wear out your engine. So every now and then you just want to hear the turbo move. You want to hear some air being compressed, and you want to hear that blow-off valve go off. You want to hear some exhaust gas. You may want to hear the wastegate open. But, I don't feel the need to tax this car all the time. Not sure why I got off on that tangent. Another thing is transmission fluid. So this car's got a built transmission. In these type of cars, you're banging the gears often. You're going to naturally you have metal contacting in there. You got brass components, steel, all kind of metal material, right? So you got bearings in there. You want to periodically change that transmission fluid. I always go way before the actual manual recommendation. If I feel like that synchro is not quite as smoothly as engaging as when I first changed the fluid, it's time to change the fluid. Another thing is, your brake fluid. You're going to be making power, accelerating fast. Well, you're going to be stopping aggressively sometimes. So to do so, you need brake fluid. That's general maintenance on any car. You shouldn't have to say, hey, I'm gonna get a fast car to start giving a shit about that. Make sure your pads are good. Just basic car shit, man. As young car enthusiasts, I feel like you don't prioritize the maintenance and you're so busy trying to make the car faster and look cooler, you're neglecting the essentials. Make sure you're on top of the basic maintenance of a vehicle. Look at your manual. Try to go before those intervals. So if it says 10,000 miles and you're driving more aggressively, try to do it at 4,000 miles. Shit like that. This car runs on E85. You guys saw my page. I've had a G8 with a 6.2. Had a lot of guzzler V8 cars, man. Trucks, motorcycles. And I will say this thing consumes fuel like crazy. Mainly because I only drive it on short distances, and it's a manual transmission, and naturally I'm trying to hear the turbo sometimes. Big injector, big fuel, horrible fuel economy. E85 already consumes an additional 30% more than the typical gasoline, I believe roughly. And then if you're dealing with a forced induction car such as this, it's adding a bunch of fuel. You got a lot less cylinders, a lot of boost. Man, you might as well have a V8 when it comes to fuel consumption. And then we're not designed to do all of that and get the rating of 29 to 30 miles per gallon highway. This car does fine on the highway around town. It's pretty horrible. So I end up at the E85 station. The next subject, fuel quality. Filling up the car at any fuel station. Try to stick with the premium brand, Shell. A lot of these places use the same base fluid, but just keep in mind, going to the hood gas station, there's more likelihood of human error, or they may have put some 87 in the 93 octane tank, and your shit pings and you're getting knocked on the damn data logs, and you're wondering why the car is pulling timing or running rough. I've been far away from the preferred Sunoco stations, and I have a whole Google Maps list, and when I have to, I will use a Valero when away. It does have flex fuel. I do have a map, makes about 500 wheel on 93. It's fuel system maintenance. Running E85 and you're running aftermarket injectors, even pump gas and aftermarket injectors, I feel like they're a lot less tolerant to debris and contamination, or just particles within the fuel system. And you clog an injector and you're doing 9,000 RPM, man, you'll lose a cylinder quick, simply because you didn't want to change the fuel pump sock after fucking 3 years of running 85. You also likely want to have an inline, fuel filter, a 10 micron post pump, so that you're getting some additional filtration on the fuel right before the injector. Make sure you have good relays, good wiring to your fuel pump. Fuel delivery is essential. Too much air, not enough fuel, too much cylinder pressure or boost, whatever, lean AFR, you're going to have a rod hanging out the engine. At minimum, you're going to break a ringland, and now you got blow by, now your compression's down, now the car's not making power, now it's eating oil. Just make sure your fuel system's good, man. Don't cheap out on fuel system stuff. Tires. So, I will say the tires that are on the front of this car, there are AAA-Rs, okay? These are not cheap. These will not last long. These will hook very well. They will put the power down. Anything you hooking below 40 mile an hour with some power, it's pretty impressive. So the car just rolls out pretty good on these tires. Before that, you guys have seen the videos. My best 60 to 130 that I've done, which I had never attempted again, was still with some bullshit Advan tires. Ran 6.89 seconds, 60 to 130. I'm thinking with these tires, if I really want to lean on it again and really turn up the fuel system, I think I could get a high 5 out of this car. That was spinning, 60 to 100 mile an hour. Besides the point, tires are not cheap when you're doing aftermarket performance car builds. Hope that gives you guys an idea of what it's like to daily drive a high horsepower K-Series turbo car. Really, this applies to any really highly modified car running E85, okay? This is universal advice. You can take it or leave it, up to you. Ultimately,
Go out there and do it all. You want to?
Thank you guys for watching. Have a good day.
Escapism. Yo, escapism.